Hello everyone, welcome to the session. So in this session, we are going to solve a couple of problems on nested loops concept. Okay. So first, let's take a look at the problem that we are going to solve. So the first question is numbers in hollow square. That is, you are given an input n. Okay. What you need to do is you need to print a pattern like this. Okay. So you need to print a hollow square, and there should be numbers on the borders of the hollow square. Okay. So inside everything should be spaces. So everything should be blank inside the square. Outside, that is on the border, there should be numbers. So to get the logic, the important part is filling the pattern with spaces. Okay, so you need to fill the entire pattern with spaces. So let's fill with spaces. Wherever there are spaces, let's show them explicitly. Okay, because if we don't write these spaces down, it will be very, very difficult to visualize. If we write these spaces, it will be very easy to visualize. Okay, so let's write these spaces. So I will write these spaces with a hyphen or a underscore. Okay, so this is one space. Between 1 and 2 there is a space. Between 2 and 3 there is a space. 3 and 4 there is a space. 4 and 5 there is a space. So it is given explicitly in the question that there will be spaces between each number. Okay, here also if there is a space, below that also there will be a space. Space, space, space. So let's finish this. So under 3 there will be spaces. Okay, this is under 3. This is below this space, there will be spaces. This is for 4. Okay. So yeah, so this is how the entire pattern looks. I'll just add one more space after this because it doesn't matter whether I add a space or if I add a space at the end, it doesn't matter to the final pattern. Okay. So now what is happening? Okay, how many rows are there first? This is row number 1, I equal to 1. I'll call this as my I equal to 1. That is my first row. I can start from I equal to 0 or I equal to 1, but I'll start from I equal to 1. So this is I equal to 2, I equal to 3, this is I equal to 4, and this is I equal to 5. Okay, right? And what are the columns? So this together, a number and a space together, I'll consider as one unit. Okay, together I'll print this at once. So this is one unit. So I'll consider this as column 1. Next, this is column 2, j equal to 2, column 3, column 4, and this is column 5. Okay, here. So basically this is column 1, column 2, column 3, column 4, and column 5. We have 5 columns. Okay, right? What else do you see? Do you see any pattern here? So let's fully draw this square. This is a square. Okay, now if you carefully observe what is happening here, let me first finish the entire square. So if you carefully observe, the first row has all numbers. When I say number, I mean a number and a space. Number and a space together, I'm calling it as a number. So this first row has a numbers. So all the first row has a numbers. Entire first row has numbers. Now entire last row has numbers, right? And the first column has numbers, and the last column has numbers. Okay, rest all is just spaces. Okay, so basically, if you see, this is a hollow square. That means only on the borders you will have numbers. What are the borders? I equal to 1. First row. What is the last row? I equal to 5. That is I equal to n. And first column j equal to 1, and last column j equal to 5, which is j equal to n. So only for this there will be numbers. We'll print numbers. That is a number and a space. Okay. For the others, if this condition is not true, then we'll print spaces. We'll just print two spaces. Two spaces. As you can see, two spaces. Okay. This part. Right. So basically, we'll visit all rows. That means my I will go from 1 to 5. That is, my I will go from 1 to 5. 5 is nothing but n. So I goes from 1 to n. That is, when I equal to 1, we'll print this row. When I equal to 2, we'll print this row. When I equal to 3, we'll print this row. To print this row, okay, we'll have to move from j equal to 1 to j equal to 5. So for each I, we'll have j moving from 1 to n. 1 to n. So I will move from 1 to n. J will also move from 1 to n. Agree? Okay. So if this condition is true, if I equal to 1 or I equal to n, or j equal to 1 or j equal to n, that means we are at the border. If we are at the border, I'll just print this. Okay, print a number. We'll print a number. What is that number? Let's observe. Okay. If you carefully observe, in the first column, we are printing 1. In the second column, whenever we are printing a number, we are printing only 2. Okay. Whenever we are printing a number, in third column, we are printing 3. In fourth column, we only have 4. In fifth column, we only have 5. That means for any column, we need to print the number j. So we need to print j followed by a space. Okay. So we need to print j followed by a space if we are on the border. If you are not on the border, we'll print 2 empty spaces. That is our logic. Okay. That is our logic. So let's start writing this code. So first we have to read the input, right? So n equal to int of input. So let's give what's the input that is given here? 5. Okay. So let's give 5 as an input here. So we are reading the input. Next, what happens? For I in range of I is going from 1 to n. 1 and n are included. That means my range will be 1 comma n plus 1. Okay, for each I, that is for each row, my j is going from 1 to 5. That means for j in range of 1 comma n plus 1. Okay, right? What do we need to do? If we are on the border, that means if any of these conditions are true, any one of these conditions is true, that means we need to print our number. What is our number? The column number, which is j. So that means if I equal to 1, that is the first row. Okay, if I equal to 1 or I equal to n or j equal to 1 or j equal to n, in that case we need to print the column number j and a space. If you see here, the first column we are printing 1, in the last column we are printing 5, in between we are printing 2, 3, 4. Okay, j equal to 4, we are printing 4, etc. So that means we need to print j followed by a space. So what we'll do is we'll print j. Okay, now if I just write print of j, and a space, I can also print a space. So if I do that, what happens is my cursor will move to the next row. If I just write print of 1, what happens? Okay, so if you see here, if this is my output console, if I just write print of 1, initially 1 will be printed and cursor will move to the next line. So if I print 2, next 2 will be printed in the next line. But here I want 1 and 2 in the same line. So for that, what we need to do is we need to use the end argument. So print of 1 comma end equal to, I'll give a space. Now what this does is print of 1 comma end equal to 2. What this does is 1 will be printed and end equal to space. That means a space will be given and cursor will remain in the same line. Because I use the end argument, cursor will stay in the same line. Cursor won't change. Okay, because I used an end argument, cursor will remain in the same row. Okay, next time when I print 2, okay, what happens is 2 will print here. Okay, 2 will print here. That's what will happen if I use the end. Okay, so let's use the end argument here also. Okay, so print of j comma, we want j followed by a space. As you can see here, whenever we are printing something, we need to print the column number followed by a space. So that means print of j comma end equal to a space, right? So this will make sure that we are printing 1 space, 2 space, 3 space, 4 space, 5 space, etc. Okay, once, if you are on the border, we'll print the number. If you are not on the border, that is else. In that case, we just need to print 2 spaces. When I equal to 1, j will go from 1 to n. In our case, because n equal to 5, j will go from 1 to 5. Okay, because I equal to 1 space will be printed next. 2 space will be printed, 3 space, 4 space, 5 space. After that, we want to move to the new line. After that, once the j loop is over, we want to move to the new line. So what I'll do is, once this entire code is done, once this entire block of code is done, that is this for loop is done, what we'll do is we'll need to move to the new line. So for that, I'll write print. Okay, now what happens is the cursor will move from here to here. So next time again, when I equal to 2, j will run from 1 to 5. When I equal to 2, j will run from 1 to 5. Only for j equal to 1 and j equal to 5, we are printing numbers. Rest of the time, we are printing spaces. Okay, right? So that's what is happening. Now if I run this, let's see what happens. Okay, we are getting the expected output. Okay, so this is what we should get. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, ones and fives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, ones and fives. Now let's say if I give 7 as an input, let's see. We will get the correct answer. Okay, so in this way we can solve this particular problem. Okay, so let's move to the next question. What is the next way to print a pattern like this? This is a hollow pyramid. Okay, right? So if you see here, write a program to print a hollow pyramid of n rows. We should print n rows using numbers starting from 5. So the starting number should be 5. Okay, so the first row we have 5, next 5, 6, 5, 7, 5, 8, 5, 9, and last we have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This is what we should print. Basically, because n equal to 6, the input is 6, we should print 6 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We should print 6 rows. Okay. So let's see what happens. So first step, what is the first step? Always fill out the spaces. So let's fill out the spaces. This is space between 5 and 6, space between 6 and 7, space between 7 and 8, 8 and 9, 9 and 10. Next, above 5 there's a space, above 6 there's a space, above this space there's a space. So let's quickly fill out all the spaces. Okay, so broadly this is the line. I'm just showing you how the the insert present. Okay, so we've added all the spaces, right? In the end, if I want, I can add one space. Doesn't matter. In the end, we can add as many spaces as we want because it doesn't change the pattern. Okay, the space will come here. This space will also come here. Right. So this is how it looks. Okay, we have added everything correctly. Okay, clear. Right. So now spaces are added. Next, let's calculate the row numbers and column numbers. Okay, first this will be I equal to 1. This will be I equal to 2. This will be I equal to 3. This is I equal to 4. This is I equal to 5. This is I equal to 6. Okay, and the number of columns are varying. It is depending on the number of rows. Okay, which is the I. So let's not focus on the number of columns right now. Let's just focus on number of rows. So n equal to 6. Because of that, we have 6 rows. Okay, for any given n, we'll have n rows. So I will move from 1 to n. Okay, so range of 1 comma n plus 1. Right. So now let's observe the pattern. Let's identify the pattern. This is the important part. Okay, if you observe carefully, what's happening here is the first row is slightly different. Okay, the last row is slightly different, and the middle rows are slightly different. Okay, what's happening to the first row? We have spaces at the starting, and then after that we have a number, spaces plus a number. When I say number, it means number and a space. In the last row we have numbers. We have only numbers here. The last row we only have numbers. So first row is slightly different, last row is slightly different, and the middle rows, if you see, we have spaces here, number here, spaces, number, spaces, number, spaces, number. That means this looks like spaces plus number plus spaces plus number. This is how the middle rows look. Okay, so this is the pattern that we have identified. Okay, now what do we need to do is we need to count the number of spaces. Okay, we need to calculate what is that number, and basis that we need to generate the first row. Similarly, we'll generate the last row. Similarly, we'll generate the middle rows as well. And finally, the problem will be solved. This is the approach. Okay. Right. So let's generate the first row. What is the first row? Okay, we have spaces, we have number. How many spaces are there? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 spaces. Okay, so which is nothing but 6 minus 1. 6 minus 1. So you can try this for different n's, and you will find that in the first row you'll have n minus 1 spaces. So you'll have n minus 1 spaces. N minus 1 spaces. After that, we'll just have a number. It always starts with 5. The first row always starts with 5. So we have 5 followed by a space. So this is the first row. We can easily generate the first row. Okay, so that means if I equal to 1, we'll generate this row. So let's generate the code. Let's write the code. Okay, so let's clear this off, the previous code. We are writing this for n equal to 6, right? N equal to 6. So first let's read the input, n equal to int of input. After that, so our I is going from just a moment, 1 to 6. That means I will go from 1 to n. So for I in range of 1 comma n plus 1. So that means I is going from 1 to n. Then what happens? In the first time when I equal to 1, that means if I equal to 1, in that case, we have spaces and a number format. How many spaces are there? N minus 1 spaces. So that means what I'll do is, initially I'll have an empty row. My row will be empty. This is an empty row. There's nothing here, empty. Now then what happens? I'll add spaces. How many spaces? Row equal to row plus n minus 1 spaces. N minus 1 multiplied by spaces. This is space. Okay. Plus there's a 5 and a space. There's a 5 and a space. This is my row. This is how I can generate the first row, and then I'll print it. So let's write it. So my row equal to, initially my row is empty, then row equal to row plus, okay, that means row plus equal to n minus 1 spaces, n minus 1 multiplied by space, plus 5 and a space, okay, that's all. I'll print the row. So this way, first row is generated, okay, so first row is done and dusted. Now what happens? Let's do the last row, okay, so last row means I equal to n. I equal to 6, which is I equal to n. So that means if I equal to n, in that case, what do we need to do? We just need to print 5 and a space, 6 and a space, 7 and a space, 8 and a space, 9 and a space, 10 and a space. Okay. So 6 and a space, 7 and a space, 8 and a space. So basically, how many numbers did we print? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Because n equal to 6, we printed 6 numbers. Okay. So for any given n, we'll print n numbers. What are the numbers? The first number is starting with 5. Second number is 6. Third number is 7. 8, 9, 10. That means this is 5 plus 0, this is 5 plus 1, 5 plus 2, 5 plus 3, 5 plus 4, and last 10 is nothing but 5 plus 5. Because we have n numbers, right? If I give indexing as 0, this is 1, this is 2, last number will be n minus 1. So that means this is 5 plus 0, 5 plus 1, so on. The last number will be 5 plus n minus 1, which is actually 2. 5 plus 6 minus 1 is nothing but 10. 5 plus 6 minus 1 is nothing but 5 plus 5, 10. Okay? So this is coming out to be true. So that means the first number is 5 plus 0, the second number is 5 plus 1, the last number is 5 plus n minus 1. Okay? So if I consider this as j, so for I equal to 6, that is for I equal to 10, this is the first element, this is the second element that I need to print, third element, fourth element, etc. So that means my j will go from 0 till n minus 1. Okay? If I equal to n, my j will go from, I'm writing the logic for this particular part. So if I equal to n, my j, okay, my j will go from 0 to n minus 1. Okay? Right? Next, what do I need to print? I need to print 5 plus j. 5 plus j as a number. Okay, I need to print it as a string and then followed by a space. So I need to print 5 plus j. 5 plus j followed by a space. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll print 5 plus j. I'll print 5 plus j, comma, end equal to a space. End equal to a space. Okay, end equal to a space. So this will make sure that first 5 plus 0 is printed. When j is 0, 5 plus 0 is printed. J equal to 1, 5 plus 1 is printed, 6. Okay. Next, when j equal to, 2, 5 plus 2 is printed, etc. In that way, this will be printed. Okay. Right. So let's start writing the code. Okay. So that means we are writing the last row, which is I equal to n. If I equal to n, first what happens? The row should be empty. We should carry an empty row at the start. After that, for j in range of, j is going from 0 to n minus 1. That means range is nothing but 0 comma n. That means for I in range of n, I can simply write j, for I in range of n. Okay, I need to print 5 plus j, right? 5 plus j, comma, end equal to a space. So this will make sure that first 5 plus 0, 5 is printed and then a space. Next, 5 plus 1 is printed, 6 and a space, 7 and a space, etc. Finally, when j is n minus 1, that means when j is 5, 5 plus 5, 10 is printed. Let me just see. Okay, so if I'm getting the correct output or not for first row and last row. So when I equal to 1, this is printed, which is nothing but this part, the first row, some spaces followed by 5. Some spaces followed by 5 is printed. When I equal to n, this part should be printed, 5 space, 6 space, 7 space, etc. 5 space, 6 space, 7 space, 8 space, 9 space, 10 space. Okay, so I'm getting it correctly. Okay, right? So I can write like this, or alternatively what I can do is I can write like this also. Okay, I can, print off, I can convert 5 plus j into string, print of string of 5 plus j, string of 5 plus j, and then a space will be added. So, okay, I can do like this also. It's fine. I mean, and then a space will be added. I can do this also, comma, end equal to empty. I can do this, or I can do this. Both are correct. Anything is fine. Okay. So this is simple. So I'll just do it, and if not convert to string actually, I can just directly print it as a number. Okay. So the last row is being printed correctly. Now comes the middle row, which is the else part. Okay. If I is not 1, if I is not n, that means I is something else, which is the middle rows. So let's calculate what happens for the middle rows. So let's calculate the middle rows. The middle row looks like this. So first row is done, last row is done. Let's calculate the middle rows. The middle rows has spaces, number, spaces, number. So this is left spaces starting, then middle spaces. So first, if you see, first we have spaces, then a number, spaces, and then a number. So let's calculate for each I, for any I, how many left spaces are there, how many middle spaces are there. Okay, and this number is always 5. The first number is always 5. Okay. The last number is varying. The last number is 6, 7, 8, 9 varying. Okay. So our middle rows are 2 to 5. For 2 to 5, let's calculate this part. Okay. Right. So I can be 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay. So I need to calculate the left spaces. I need to calculate the middle spaces. Okay. I need to calculate the number. This number as well. Ending number as well. So here it's 6. Here it's 7. I need to find out the logic between I and that number. Okay, let's do it. So for I equal to 2, what happens? Let's see. For I equal to 3, I equal to 4, I equal to 5. For I equal to 2, how many left spaces are there? For I equal to 2, left spaces are 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 left spaces are there. How many middle spaces are there? This is a number. There is a number. So no middle spaces between both the numbers. So ideally, between this number and this number, there will be some middle spaces. For I equal to 2, there are no middle spaces. So middle space is 0. Okay, what is the number? Ending number is 6. Next, for I equal to 3, starting spaces are 3. Okay, next middle spaces are 2. Then number is 7. For I equal to 4, starting spaces is 2. Middle spaces, these are starting number, ending number, and middle spaces are 4. And ending number is 8. Agree? Next, for I equal to 5, starting spaces is 1. Left space is 1. There's a number here. There's a number here. Okay, how many spaces? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 middle spaces. And the number here is 9. Now we need to find a relation between, we need to calculate left spaces, middle spaces, and number in terms of I and N. Okay, now what happens? If you see here, if I calculate, if I want to see the left spaces, okay, so for I equal to 2, left space is 4. If I increase I by 1, left space is decreased by 1. I increase I by 1 more, left space is decreased by 1 more. That means if I increase I by 1, left spaces will decrease by 1. That means, you know, these both are balanced. That means I plus left spaces will be some constant. As you can see here, 2 plus 4, 6. 3 plus 3, 6. 4 plus 2, 6. 5 plus 1, 6. So if this is increased by 1, this will decrease by 1. So I plus left spaces equal to 6. What is 6? 6 is nothing but our N. So left space is equal to N minus I. N minus I. Left spaces is nothing but N minus I. So left spaces is N minus I. Next, what happens? Middle spaces. Let's calculate middle spaces. Let's observe the pattern. If I increase I by 1, middle space is increasing by 2. If I increase I by 1 more, middle space increasing by 2 more. That means middle spaces will be something like this. Middle space is equal to 2 into I plus or minus some constant. Plus some constancy. Because if I is increasing by 1, middle spaces is increasing by 2. Okay. Now let's calculate this constancy. So what can we do? Middle spaces, if I substitute this value, I equal to 2, middle space is 0. So middle space is 0. I equal to 2. 2 into 2 plus some constant. So 0 equal to 4 plus constant. So that constant has to be minus 4. So that means middle space equal to 2 into I minus 4. 2I minus 4. Let's observe the pattern here. Let's observe the pattern. Okay. So let's cross check. When I equal to 2, middle space will be 2 into 2 minus 4, 0. When I equal to 3, 2I minus 4 will be 2 into 3 minus 4, 6 minus 4, 2. 2I minus 4, 2 into 4 minus 4, 2 into 4, 8 minus 4, 4. So we are getting correct. So middle space also we got. Now let's calculate the number. So I is increasing by 1, number is increasing by 1. So that means number is equal to I plus some constant. I plus some constant, C. So number is 6. When number is 6, I is 2. Let's see. That means the constant is 6 minus 2, 4. So number is nothing but I plus 4. So as you can see here, when I equal to 2, number is 6. I equal to 3, this is 7. This is 4, this is 8. This is 5, this is 9. So we got all the values. Now we can happily calculate the middle row. The middle row is nothing but, left space equal to N minus I, middle space equal to I minus 4, number equal to I plus 4. So left spaces plus starting number. This is always, left space is nothing but N minus I. Starting number is always 5 and a space. So 5 and a space. Middle space is nothing but 2I minus 4. And the last number is nothing but I plus 4. I plus 4 followed by a space. So this is the any middle row for any given I. So let's generate this in the same way. So what happens? Okay, so else again we'll start with an empty row. Then so left spaces is equal to N minus I. Next middle spaces equal to 2I minus 4. 2 into I minus 4. I can write it 2I minus 4 or 2 bracket into I minus 2. I can write like this also. 2 multiplied by I minus 2. Anything is fine. Both are correct. Okay. Right. Middle space are also calculated. Next what happens? Next I can just write it. Okay. So my row is nothing but row plus equal to left spaces multiplied by, that many spaces plus, okay, there is a number. What is the number? The number is 5. Okay, after the left spaces, is a 5 and a space. So let's add that 5 and a space. Then we have middle spaces. So we have middle spaces multiplied by a space. Then finally we have a number followed by a space. What is that number? I plus 4. We'll do string of I plus 4. Okay, string of I plus 4 plus a space. Okay, so this is the final row and we can happily print it now. Okay, so this is the row. For I equal to 1, we calculated the row, we'll print it. If I equal to n, we'll calculate the row. Okay, and then we'll print it. Okay, right? And if I is not 1, I equal to not n, then in that case we're calculating row here and we'll print it. So now let's run this and see if this works. Just a moment. Just a moment. Here we should write else if. Okay, else if. So if I equal to 1, then this will only print. These two shouldn't be printed. Okay, right? And next we are checking if I is not 1, we'll check if I is n. If I is not n, in that case, we'll check for the middle rows. We'll write the code for middle rows. So here, basically what might have happened is, okay, here we'll have else if, okay, right? So if I equal to 1, this will be, the first row will be calculated and printed. If it is not 1, else if, okay, then I will check for I equal to n. And finally, if I is not 1, I is not n, we'll print for the middle rows, okay? Now here, there's one part that we missed, which is basically, once the complete row is printed, the cursor has to move to new line, right? So for that, print off will be there. Print off will be there. Okay, now let's run this and see if this works. Okay, this is working. Okay, this is working. So in this way, we can solve this particular problem. Let's see if you are getting correct answer. So if you see here 5, 5, 6, 5, 7, 5, 8, 5, 9, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 5, 5, 6, 5, 7, 5, 8, 5, 9, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So here what's happening is we calculated the entire first row and then we are printing it. Here what are we doing? We are printing small pieces. Okay, we are printing 5 space, then we are printing 6 space, 7 space, etc. So for all of this to be in the same row, we are using the end argument. For all of this to be in the same row, we are using the end argument. Okay, once this entire last row is printed, we'll have to move to a new line. That's why we are using the print here. Okay, finally, here what happens? Anyways, we are calculating the entire row and printing it once. So automatically, the cursor will move to new line because we are not using end. Okay, so in this way, we can solve this particular problem, right? So this will solve a particular problem. Okay, so problem 2 is also solved. Problem 2 is also solved. So let's move to the final problem. Okay, so the final problem is numbers in inverted hollow triangle. What does it say? Write a program to print a hollow right angle triangle of n rows using numbers starting from 1, where integer n is given as input. So that means if n equal to 4, we should print a pattern like this. We should print a pattern like this. Okay, very similar to the previous questions. Let's apply the same logic and let's solve this particular question. Okay, so this is the question. So let's apply the same logic. First logic, apply spaces, add spaces, display the spaces. 7 and 8, this is space, 8 and 9, this is space. So this space is above 7, this space is above, these two are in same line. So we have added these spaces. Okay, this is I equal to 1, I equal to 2, I equal to 3, I equal to 4. Okay, next what happens? Similar logic as the square pattern question, but here instead of a hollow square, we have a hollow triangle. Okay, so the first question we had a hollow square. Now we had a hollow triangle. So the first question what happened was, whenever we are on the borders, we'll print numbers. Rest of the time we'll print spaces. Here also, whenever we are on the borders, we'll print numbers. Rest of the time we'll print spaces. Okay. Now what is a border? The first column is a border. First column like this is a border. The last row is a border. This is a border, and we are printing numbers. And this is also a border. So this. The last element in each row is also a border. Okay. So we've got the logic. Now let's try to see. Let's try to find out. Okay. So here basically what is happening? If you see, for each row, the number of elements being printed is changing. In the first row, we printed only 1. The second row, we are printing 2. In the third row, we are printing 3. In the fourth row, we are printing 4. Right? Okay. So that means first row 1 is printed, second row 2 is printed, third row 3 is printed, fourth row 4 is printed. Okay. So that means my I is going from 1 to 4. I is going from 1 to 4. What is 4? My n. So I will go from 1 to n. Okay. I'll have n rows. In each row, how many numbers should I print? Okay. If the row number is I have to print I elements. So that means my j will go from 1 to I. If you see here, j is only 1 here. Here j is 1 and j is 2. This is j equal to 2. Here j equal to 1, j equal to 2, j equal to 3. This is j equal to 3. Here j equal to 1, 2, 3, 4. This is j equal to 4. So j equal to 1, 2, 3, 4 are covered. Okay. So j will maximum go till I. So for I equal to 1, j went till 1. For I equal to 2, j went till 2. For I equal to 3, j went till 3. For I equal to 4, j went till 4. So j will go from 1 to I. Now what do we need to do? If you are on the border, that means if you are on the first column, which is j equal to 1, or if you are on the last row, which is I equal to n, or if you are on the diagonal or this part, which is like, if you see here this is 1 comma 1. This is second row, second column. This is third row, third column. This is fourth row, fourth column. That means here I will be equal to j. Okay. So if I equal to j, that means we are on this line. So if you are on this line or this line or this line, we'll have to print a number. If not, we'll have to print the spaces. Okay, so let's write the code for this particular part. We can clear this off, the previous question. So first, let's read the input. N equal to int of input. After that, for I in range of. Okay. So one more thing that we need to observe is that here, first we are starting with a number 1. Okay. Next, whenever we are printing, we are increasing the number. So here we printed 1. Next we printed 1 plus 1 2. Next we printed 2 plus 1 3. Next we printed 3 plus 1 4. Here we did not print. Here when we printed, we are printing 4 plus 1 5. Here we printed 6, 7, 8, 9. So that means whenever we are printing, we should increase our number by 1. Okay. So initially my number will be 1. So for I in range of 1 comma n plus 1. Okay, because our I is going from 1 to n both included. Next, for each I, j is going from 1 to I is also included. That means for j in range of 1 comma I plus 1. What happens? Okay, for j in range of 1 comma I plus 1. If you are on the border, we should print the number, else we should print spaces. That means, how do we know if you are on border? If I equal to n, or j equal to 1, or j equal to 1, or I equal to j, or I equal to j. Okay, so in that case, we should print. Number followed by space. Number followed by space. We can achieve it by this. Okay, and we should increase the number by 1. Okay, so finally, once a complete row is printed, we should move to a new. We should move the cursor to new line. So once this entire for loop is done, okay, right? After that, so one more thing. If you are on the border, like here, we should print the number. Else, we should print the spaces. So if you are on the border, we are printing the number. Else, we should print spaces. Okay, done. Now once this entire part is done, we should move the cursor to new line. Okay, right. So this should solve the equation. Let's try this out and see if this is working. Okay, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is working. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's give the input 3 and see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It is working. Okay, let's give 5. It is working. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Last we'll have 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so here it looks like 12 has gone out of the triangle, but not. Basically, what happened here is 10 will take 2 numbers, 11 will take 2 numbers, 12 will take 2 numbers. That's why the last row till slightly moved to the right, but this is actually correct. Okay, so in this way we can solve this particular question as well, right? So that's all for this session. Okay, so this is how you can solve any nested loop question. The key here is first fill out the spaces. You fill out all the spaces. Okay, once you fill out the spaces, understand the pattern, what is happening. Okay, once you understand the pattern, then you'll start writing the code. Okay, right? So do share your feedback for this session.